Hi, my name's Ztarli, and in this video I'll be drawing Glory from the book series Wings of Fire. This is actually a drawing I drew back in 2020. When I first started reading the books, I decided I would make a bookmark out of my favourite character from the first series, which is Glory, the Rainwing. So I drew this sketch and I then cropped it down and coloured it with real media, and I use it as a bookmark. But I did take a photo of the full sketch before making it thinner so it would actually fit into a bookmark, and I really liked that original sketch, so I've decided to do a full colour of the full sketch of the dragon instead of just that narrow bar. You can sort of see where the template is. I cut off quite a lot of it in the original bookmark, so I was kind of glad I took this photo of it before cutting it down. Yeah, I actually used a red pacer for this sketch. Called mechanical pencil. I do this when I'm going to be using markers or colour pencils, or something that I'm going to be colouring over it instead of using the normal HB or 2B leads. The reason for this is it's less noticeable when I'm colouring over top of it, and sometimes I actually quite enjoy adding like little strokes of blush using the red mechanical pencil, so it is kind of a different way to be sketching. You could also use the red mechanical pencil as like a rough sketch one, and then you do like your harder sketch with the darker pencil, and when you upload your pictures you can erase all the red from the image and then you're just left with the darker, more refined sketch. So it's kind of a neat way of being able to double sketch without getting confused with the two graphite coloured lines. I decided to use a different brush for this picture. I normally use the same brush every time, but I've decided to sort of widen my horizons and try using different brushes and stuff. So for this one, I've pretty much only used one brush the entire time. So for the liner and the painting and everything, even sometimes with the smudge, I changed it to the one brush, which is the charcoal brush. And it was a lot of fun, and I'm really glad I tried it. I'm probably going to do a few more like this where I choose just one brush and I basically just use the one brush during the whole process of the art piece. I also use a lot more gradients in this one than I normally would. I do want to try utilize gradients a bit more. They do help you a lot if you're trying to get a gradient, I guess. So they do make a good base, and then usually I'll paint over top of the gradient, just like selecting the colours that the gradient has created for me, so that I end up with a texture instead of it just being a totally smooth gradient, which I'm not usually very fond of. I do prefer to have a bit of texture in my pictures, which I guess is why I always go in and paint over top of all my colours, even after doing a fairly smooth shadow or highlight layer. Now, if you haven't figured out by now, I super duper love dragons, so it was a no-brainer that I was going to read Wings of Fire. I was a little bit late to the series. I had read Warrior Cat series. I read a lot of that until I sort of kind of got bored of it. So I think I read 3 or 4 of the series of Warrior Cats and like 5 of the standalone ones. And then I sort of started reading some older dragon novels. I was reading Dragons of Turn and this other one, a friend lent me, I can't remember the name of it. And then I came across Wings of Fire and I was like, why did it take me so long to find this series? And I really love it. I really enjoy it. And I like all the characters. It's kind of hard to choose a favourite, but I don't know, there's just something about Glory that I liked. I liked that she was kind of different from the others, and that she ended up, she wasn't what she appeared to be, and I liked her. I really like her design. She's sort of got this more slender design than the others. She's sort of also like a bit of an arch in her back because she's a bit longer in the body than the others, and she's got that cool sort of tail and no spoilers or anything, but she's got some interesting things about her that I really love, and she's got a lot of different colors, which is always fun to color as well. So Glory ended up being my favorite for the first series, which is why she ended up as my bookmark, because I was reading the first series when I drew this picture back in 2020. Now, if you ask me what my favorite type of dragon from this series is, it's probably Ice Wings. I really like how sharp they look. They're so pointy, and I really like Winter too. I think Winter is probably my favorite from the second book series, and I did actually make a tiny chibi Ice Wing or Winter model. Let's be honest, it was meant to be Winter, but it's kind of really chibi and cute, so you can't really tell. But I do really like the Ice Wings. I think they're really cool, and I've always liked the idea of having the colors of glaciers, like trying to capture those sort of teal and aquas and blues and whites that sort of shift when you look at them, and the sparkling or the sheen of the ice. And I always like the idea of those sort of color schemes, and trying to capture the color or the feeling of a glacier in an actual living creature. So I really like the Ice Wings. They're my favorite type of dragon from the book series. I had tons of fun coloring the foliage and the flowers in the background of this. I tried to choose very tropical looking plants because Rain Wings are sort of tropical dragons. And yeah, the brush, I used a charcoal brush for coloring the plants, was actually really nice to use. It was really pleasing sort of texture it created, and when I turned the opacity down a little bit, it did mix really well, and it was just really enjoyable to use that brush to paint those plants and stuff. But I should mention, the brush that is used in the very, very background, those sort of like blotchy, leafy looking things that are not lined, that's actually a brush I created myself. You can actually see how I created that in one of my Artflow videos, the brush one. It's actually the one I used as just a demonstration on how to create your own brushes. I kind of just used it, like made it really quickly just to demonstrate how you could do certain things, and I didn't really even finish the brush properly, but it's actually turned out to be a really useful foliage brush. So, even things that you don't plan on making into something end up really good. And there's actually a second brush in that tutorial that I also ended up using all the time, which was just a rectangle that I just edited the properties on. It actually makes a really nice sort of chunky, sort of rough edged brush, and I use that all the time as well. I actually used that in the bio video, the one before this one. I used it for doing the rocks and stuff in the background. But yeah, if you want to know how to create your own brushes in Artflow, I will just link the video for you so that you can have a look. But you can actually see the brushes I created and used in this picture and the bio picture in that video. I'm now just adding extra shadow because I did a very light shadow layer. So I decided I wanted to make it more integrated in the background, and I made this really blotchy, dark shadow over top of the whole picture. And then I'll just add some extra light spots in. I was really unsure about these shadows to begin with. I know I sort of felt like it was a lot, and I don't normally shade that heavily, but I kind of feel like I need to do this more. I feel I need to push myself a bit harder. I need to do shadows darker and lights lighter so that the pictures end up more striking. So I thought I'd give it a go on this one, just to try and make it a bit more of an interesting picture instead of just sort of a standard, this dragon standing in normal sunshine sort of look. So now it actually looks like it's hidden in amongst the foliage. And now I'm just erasing all those scales I drew in. I don't know why I bother drawing scales in when I'm sketching, because I always end up erasing them later and regretting that they're there in the first place. So I'm just going to make a mental note, don't sketch in scales, because I'm going to be painting over them anyway. But I liked how the scales turned out. She's supposed to have sort of like chameleon-ish skin, so like those really small circular scales. Mine kind of ended up a bit more overly shaped just because of the shape of the brush, but I still like how it came across. I think it still comes across like she's covered in lots of small scales instead of large plates, instead of course her neck's got large sort of plates on it. Yeah, we're nearly done. I've done most of the coloring of the character itself. I just fiddle around for a long time at this point, trying to decide what to do with the border and the adjustments for the character. This is meant to be a speed paint, and it is kind of, it's average, I'd say, for my normal painting. This took me 4.5 hours. There is a version of this where I don't do the painting, and you could call it done, and that took me nearly 2 hours. I will show you both at the end, but basically it was just before the painting stage, and I'd just done like the rough shadows and highlights, and I had the plants weren't shaded, but I kind of liked the way it looked, so I actually did stop the recording to do like a small finished version of the one that wasn't painted on. So that one only took me 2 hours, so I guess you could call that a speed paint, but the full one, yeah, 4.5 hours. A lot of the time though at the end here is spent doing this border, which I really like. It looks cool, looks like a gold shiny border, but it just didn't suit the picture. And I spent a long time trying to adjust it and like trying to add vines to it to integrate it to the background more, and then in the end I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna delete the whole thing, and I end up without a border at all. I said just let the shape of the background be the border, because I had trimmed around the plants and the background already, so they're already in a rectangular shape, and I decided that I liked that version better than the bordered version. I actually saved both of them, but yeah, I'm gonna keep the unbordered version. So here's the two side by side. You've got the finished painted version on the left, and then it's our 50 version on the right, which is just without the painting stage. So you can kind of see here that I spent 2.5 hours just on painting. But there we go. Well, thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give me a like. If you want to see more, then subscribe to my channel. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to support me. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!